Good morning, everybody. Kevin Cage back with another cryptocurrency update. I'm going to dive right in. This video is going to be relatively informal. I just want to go over a few points that many of you know and tying together some important points at the end of this video. Appreciate all of you that like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into business. So this document released a few days ago by the G30, again, the group of 30. I want to talk about their current former members as well as leadership, tie it in together directly with Ripple and things that we know and where we see this landscape going, digital currencies and stablecoins. Interestingly enough, I know this has been a narrative for quite some time. We know that central banks of the world have been exploring at least digitalization and, taking currencies to go more digital for well over a decade. This has been in talks for quite some time, but DLT is a lot more recent and central bank digital currencies are a lot more recent involving DLT. But the thing is, they act like this is just some brand new technology that they haven't been working on for, 5+ years. And little do we know, obviously the XRP ledger came into fruition in 2012. It was the first DLT kind of consensus network that came to be. They used a different consensus mechanism rather than Bitcoin with its blockchain proof of work. Obviously, we know it's a lot more efficient, sustainable, for climate change, etc. The World Economic Forum calling this year the Great Reset. Pretty odd. There's a lot of weird coincidences. And all I'm saying is, there can't be, they're not all coincidences. So none of this is financial advice. Do your own research, find a content creator, find multiple sources of information, and obviously decide for yourselves. So again, control find. I know many of you have already seen this. Right here, coordinating the introduction of global official sector stablecoins, we got Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of England. For those of you that do not know, the Bank of England is a current RippleNet partner customer. Again, they are a paying customer per Brad Garlinghouse. And obviously, Mark Carney's been, a long advocate of this type of hegemonic currency system, talking about central bank digital currencies. Obviously, they have trialed Interledger Protocol as well with their central bank and real-time gross settlement system. Funny enough, just like Lee SPQR predicted, and many people have kind of, been talking about this, whether it's Project Jasper, Ubin, all of these projects involving central bank digital currencies, potentially Interledger Protocol, and working on settlements between the systems with distributed tech overall for resiliency, for trust, etc. So we know now Bank of England again chose Accenture, one of Ripple's first investors. Accenture helps with the digital transformation of Swift, Ripple, R3, and many other partners, again, delivering distributed ledger tech and many other things. Accenture is just a massive behemoth working on the digital dollar project for, obviously going, tokenizing USD. So should be no surprise whether it's end of year in a few years, we see a central bank digital currency in the United States as well. We have the former CFTC chairman, Christopher Giancarlo, again, he's working with Accenture on the digital dollar project. Accenture is the lead architect. And he's also an advisor for Ripple. So RTGS settlement, again, real-time gross settlement. Essentially, guys, why they're working on this, real-time gross settlement is just a process and it's constant, it's perpetual, and it's all about settling interbank transfers across all of these order books of the central banks. And today, the correspondent banking network has not been updated in 40+ years. It was built pre-internet, pre-digital era. We can send emails, we can video chat, but we cannot settle central bank, obviously, ledgers, with finality instantly. It can take, days at a time, and there's a 6% error rate in the existing legacy network today, which is obviously just uncalled for. This is all about settling across the core ledgers of the central banks without a bunch of intermediaries. And the concept you're going to hear a lot is disintermediation. Again, getting rid of all of the middlemen. Middlemen absolutely played a part, but it's simply time for everything to kind of become a lot more, efficient, you could say. So typically, real-time gross settlement is generally, now there's low-value payment systems, but this is typically for large-value interbank transfers. Now, why am I so bullish on this? Well, we know XRP's primary use case, and right now with on-demand liquidity and Ripple, the primary focus is low value, working on a liquid corridors. Yes, we're solving problems, and it's already going well over $1 billion per year in transaction volume. That's great, and I think XRP's here to stay. But my main, question, concern, and hope as a speculative investor is the volume and the transaction size to be consistent and rise over time. And that is where, that, I don't want to say it, but moon money, that moon scenario would come from. All right. So again, real-time gross settlement systems, they're used by central banks worldwide, and it's all about kind of helping minimize risks related to high-value payment settlements among all of these financial institutions. So, should be no surprise with Accenture. Wish them well. Bank of England, again, just kicking things into gear. Interestingly enough, we can also talk about, so let's kind of talk about Vellante briefly. So again, we know that they had a recent investing round again, a variety of groups. We can see Visa, again, they acquired Ripple's Earthport partner, BNY Mellon, again, a longtime customer of Ripple, no surprise, in accelerating global cloud expansion. We see a lot of these financial institutions, a lot of these platforms, going to the cloud, experimenting with DLT. And we can kind of, go through this specifically with Vellante, and we know that their platform, I believe they even name it down here, Volpay. And again, that is actually integrated with Ripple. This is a document, I believe it's relatively old. We've seen it for quite some time, but all rights reserved 2020 as well. So they just keep updating it with this Ripple processor module. Now, Vellante is one of the, tech providers. I'm sure you're sick of me saying this. I'm just repeating all of this relatively every video, but I have newcomers all the time for the clearinghouse real-time payments platform in the United States. Now, Vellante is a massive behemoth. You can go right on their website, vellantetech.com. I mean, as soon as we go right here, we can see trillions of dollars move through our system on a daily basis. For just one of our clients, we process over 800 million transactions a day. And I assume, those are larger than $1 transactions. Obviously, for high value payment systems. In Volpay, again, RippleNet enabled, is also interconnected with the UK's FPS system as well. All right, so these are huge. I mean, multi-trillion dollars per day. On the conservative side, let's just say Vellante processes $2 trillion per day in transaction volume. And obviously right here is what I was referencing, clearinghouse RTP network as well. All right. Let me see. And again, even with tips specifically, we know the Target 2 securities and, Target overall is integrated with tips and Task Group and Ripple. So should be no surprise, guys. I just think that it's all about interoperability. Everything is connected, and the fact that we are integrated with some of the largest payment systems in the world should really, really say something to you guys. And if you don't think that there is a chance for success, you simply haven't done your research. I'm not going to say anything's guaranteed in the space, but when you are following the fundamentals, there's a lot of things that scream XRP versus a lot of other projects that are significantly more speculative and going after a way smaller market share. There's many use cases in DLT. We are just at the beginning. I get it. But in terms of immediate problems that need solving today, liquidity and cross-border payments is one of the most obvious pain points in the global economy today, period. All right. And that is where I'm investing primarily now. And maybe if I see other projects evolve and really, really kind of get their wheels moving, I'm going to be looking at other use cases as we explore them. Just like XRP is getting, ready for lending. I know DeFi is exciting and it's a catch-all term, but again, we are at the very beginning. That might upset some of you, but for me, that is incredibly exciting. All right. So let me see what else I want to talk about. I also saw a really good video Crypto Addy did referencing the NTT data company, remember, with the Everest document and kind of showing the XRP ledger in tandem with ILP, connecting all of the RTGS systems across the world, kind of a hypothetical scenario or potentially a roadmap or goal, whatever you guys believe. And they're a huge behemoth with, top 5, 6 largest IT firms in the world. And she was showing a really cool document with NTT Data Blockchain Services, talking about blockchain as a service, as you guys have seen the acronym BaaS instead of software as a service, and essentially talking about some of the technology partnerships that they had. Should be no surprise, but I thought it was worth noting that they did have partnerships with Microsoft, who runs an XRP validator, Amazon, obviously we know, Ripple's highly involved with AWS as well. They even speak highly of Ripple and the XRP ledger on their website. We have Alibaba Cloud, of course, in tandem with Alipay, no surprise, even WeChat, Ant Financial, we can directly tie them to Ripple and their partners, whether it's, let me see, dLocal, we could talk about Standard Chartered and their platform Access. There's just too many of the name, guys. I think you guys have watched many, many people and read and done your own research, and you understand, obviously, there's tons of connections. And the question is, how many of the connections are BS and how many are actually legitimate and could potentially tie into XRP. And that's for you to decide. I've seen everything I need to see in the space. All right. To at least know where the space is going. Okay. Let me see what else I want to talk about. I do want to kind of reference something I saw David Schwartz talking about a while ago. I think I have mentioned it. And again, Anders Lundberg was going back and forth on Twitter a little bit, talking about, on-demand liquidity transactions. So we know, say it goes US dollar, a fiat currency, to XRP, and then you take that XRP and say you convert it into another fiat currency like the Mexican peso. So those are two transactions. XRP, obviously US dollar to XRP, then XRP to Mexican peso. Two transactions. Now, if a financial institution already holds XRP, kind of no-stroke consolidation, if you will, and this is a term that is used by many people because of the pre-funded accounts globally that are highly inefficient, they can just hold a small basket of XRP rather than a huge basket of 13 different fiat currencies. So it's just XRP to fiat. That's not on-demand liquidity, is it? And he was kind of questioning it. And I like the thought because it really does get you going. And obviously, David Schwartz has said this, and I even mentioned it in the thread, and it's not my idea. It's just something I really like. You would actually only be paying one spread, which is also cheaper than paying two, doing two conversions, correct? And then Anders Lundberg even said, exactly. Plus, that transaction will also be quicker on the back end, meaning less volatility. As we know, and what a lot of people don't understand quite yet is mathematically, if you are transferring fiat over the existing system today, and it takes, whether it's one full day or even 2 to 6 days that we see, that volatility is significantly more volatile than transferring via XRP over the ledger in 3 to 5 seconds. Now, we understand the back-end process of an on-demand liquidity transaction. Maybe it involves people clicking and waiting and market makers and everything. If the whole process takes 2 to 3 minutes, it is still inherently less volatile than a fiat transaction that takes 2 to 5 days to settle, period. And it is significantly cheaper. What's the cost of an XRP transaction over the XRP ledger? 0.0004 cents typically, compared to, spending $50 or, 5% in fees. We know areas for remittance payments in the UAE are spending nearly 10% every time they send money to their loved ones. That's uncalled for, period. All right. As we can see, even Microsoft Azure, again, more focus on the cloud. My mind is moving a mile a minute as always. Just pay attention to this. We know Ripple's Nacho Alliance. We can see Vellante also with their validator. Should be no surprise. It's clear as day to me, but you guys do your own research. All right. And let me see. I'm going to finish up talking about R3. I think a lot of people are just going to be sleeping on them. They think it's funny. They don't think R3 and Corda will ever utilize XRP. And I am betting big that they absolutely will play a role in the world of trade finance. While Ripple, who knows if they become, there's tons of conspiracies with Ripple either fading away and XRP being, self-sustainable, or Ripple becoming some type of bank in tandem with PolySign or act like a treasury in tandem with the United States. There's tons of conspiracies. All I'm saying is I don't care if Ripple or R3 succeed. I just want XRP to be utilized in a real way. So I hope they both succeed. I know there's rumors about mergers or acquisitions between the groups. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. I only care about XRP, period. So we know back in 2016, they worked together. We know that they were promised, R3 was promised from Ripple in writing 5 billion XRP at a significant discount. R3 supposedly didn't take advantage of that offer in time when they wanted their 5 billion XRP. Ripple said, okay, but the terms have changed, something like that. Don't quote me verbatim. There's a big lawsuit, so we do not know how much XRP they finally agreed to, okay, or settled for. And interestingly enough, R3 with their blockchain service or their platform, again, Corda is trade finance. This is the trillions of dollars. This is big boy money, period. So we have Spunto with the Italian Banking Association. By October 1st, they should be nearly 100% live with the Italian banks. With Spunto, reconciliation. What's next? Well, we need settlements. Interestingly enough, we see that XRP has been named the only digital asset to settle via Corda. And yes, it is completely agnostic, just like any other platform that's going to succeed in this internet of value, just like protocols like ILP. And that's the way it's going to be. If they don't win on a level playing field, they don't deserve to win at all. Now, just to speed through here and listen to some of these quotes from the biggest names in the world, pay attention. So we know that they teamed up with 12 banks, R3, back in the day to trial XRP, not just Ripple, not just Xcurrent, XRP. All right, CrossBorder Payments. So we can see Chris Larson talking about the future of fintech, financial technology, is bringing together like-minded companies. All right. We can see that they're announcing the 12 banks. R3's trialing this to scale liquidity and reduce the costs and inefficiencies of cross-border payments. If you guys already know all this, feel free to, go to the next video, but I do want to go through this and tie it together with the G30 group because I forgot to. So, right here, we can, see many of the groups and well-known RippleNet customers, Barclays, BMO, etc. Okay, Santander, RBC, no surprise. And as we're going down, we can see this. So rather than relying on Nostro accounts, as I mentioned earlier, to hold various currencies, different types of fiat currencies, and in the future of the Internet of Value, there's going to be different types of not even currencies, but value, whether it's tokenized gold, tokenized commercial real estate and equities, you name it. So consider that as well. Around the world, and remember the XRP ledger goes much deeper than just XRP. We have, a built-in native DEX, decentralized exchange in the ledger, IOUs, obviously transaction costs. It's just so plain and simple to me right away, considering even that Stephen Thomas and David Schwartz, of course, talking about in hindsight that they're happy they're focusing on payments rather than smart contracts per se. It's going to be all about interoperability. Cold hard math. These businesses, these banks will use open networks as well because trust is an issue. They're not just all going to create their own permission systems and only use that, because then these groups are going to have vested interest and say, well, I don't want to use yours. Bank of America is not going to want to use JP Morgan's coin and vice versa. So they still need an open landscape, just like RippleNet partner UBS with their utility settlement token. Yeah, they can have a little permission group of, 10 banks, 12 banks, but not all 11,000 of the world's financial institutions are going to agree on a single permissioned currency. That's just how it is, period. All right, it's about inclusion and trust. So right here, around the world, banks can enable real-time value exchange by using an independent digital asset. Blockchain-inspired alternative to correspondent banking provides ODL and dramatically reduces associated cost. Remember, David Rutter, CEO of R3, wildly successful man. I believe he sold several companies for whatever, millions, hundreds of millions, who knows. They have NDAs. They do not discuss Ripple. Pay attention to that. Anytime there's interviews, he only, talks about Bitcoin and Ethereum. He asks about, if he's asked about Ripple, he really gets, he just avoids it entirely. You guys can watch, even the CTO of R3 does the same thing. To me, that means something. I think it's much more than just, legal disputes with settling and they can't talk about it. I think there are greater plans at hand. And yeah, that's me wearing my tinfoil hat, but just know that I've done a lot of reading, a lot of research the past few years. So right here, just as I've said, if you guys want to read this, the tradition of holding numerous currencies across multiple accounts in different countries, think how many middlemen that involves, guys, is costly and inefficient. That is a legacy issue from a time when technology did not exist to offer a viable alternative. However, digital assets and distributed ledgers can now enable real-time exchange of currencies between parties anywhere in the world without the need for a third intermediary. Just as I've said, disintermediation. The prototype paves the way for a major overhaul of how banks process and settle cross-border payments. All right, we understand the issues today. We understand the use case of XRP. If you've been here for quite some time, I know some of you guys have been here since 2015, which is crazy. But regardless, some of you are newcomers from, the past 6 months or so too. So we can talk about obviously savings. We've seen anywhere from 40 to 70% in savings, and it says specifically 60% here, and XRP mentioned, just so you know. And notice this, remember, Ripple, new product offerings for high volume, low value. Okay, that is Ripple's focus. R3 is high value payments. That is why I'm always watching R3 and Corda. They weren't integrated into Swift's GPI messaging for fun. There's a greater plan for settlement via DLT, period. Now, the question is, which assets will that be? Will XRP get a slice of that pie? And how big will that piece be? All right, now executives of R3's member banks commented on the benefits of utilizing independent digital assets like XRP. So again, they're not specifically saying this is XRP, but this is literally the prime example in mentioning it, and they also trialed XRP. All right, so right here, this technology will be a catalyst in reducing complexity, streamlining processes, and ultimately lowering the significant costs associated with interbank cross-border payments, which will benefit both banks and their customers. All right, and look where these people are from, BMO. We can see Global Transaction Banking at CIBC, Intesa San Paulo. Again, guys, they have offices, R3 and Ripple have offices there as well. Coincidence? London, Singapore? No, it's not all coincidence. I promise that. All right, they are working in tandem. Don't be surprised. So by developing blockchain with native digital assets, dedicated cross-border, great potential, revolutionize traditional global payments, lower costs, cryptographically secure, etc. Digitalization, simply the future. I'm just kind of speed reading through this. I already went through this earlier. I probably went through it, 15 times. Not today, but I've just read it over the years. Again, shared ledger, guys. Everybody trusts it. It's about fostering an ecosystem of mutual trust. Entire international payments value chain. It's going to go way deeper. It's going to be way more than XRP. I just don't think people comprehend how much money there is. They're saying, oh, well, XRP can't be, $100, $1,000 because the market capitalization would be this. And then, these guys would be trillionaires. That's just fool's logic because you are using a metric that is used to measure stocks. Why are you using it for an asset class that can swallow every other asset class? Just like in the Wolf of Wall Street. Market capitalization is an incorrect metric. We don't have price discovery yet. The stock market is a fugazi. It's fairy dust, period. It doesn't exist. It's just last traded price times the circulating supply. Get that out of your head. These are not stocks. This is a new asset class. All right. That's like someone comparing, the value of pebbles to a stock market, the stocks in the future and valuing, behind a company. This is open. This is flipping the model of investing upside down. All right, so talking about working with R3, and this is just the beginning, guys, and continue to pay attention to the coincidences. Pay attention to who is connected to these entities. People, you're investing in, obviously the technology, the money, the people. There's just a lot going on, the relationships. So really quick, the group of 30 guys, I want to go through some of their members and show, obviously they're directly tied to Ripple, R3, International Monetary Fund, and a lot of the essentially reserve banks and central banks of the world. And some of these guests have even been in Ripple's annual event, Swell. Should be no surprise to you guys if you know the caliber of people in this group. It's just absolutely insane. So right here, group of 30, if you already know, is an independent global body comprised of economic and financial leaders from the public and private sectors. Remember, these guys are going to be working together. Also, executive chairman Chris Larsen, obviously is a Stanford graduate as well, has donated significantly, specifically with initiatives like UBRI as well. So it aims to deepen the understanding of global economic and financial issues and to explore the international repercussions of decisions taken in the public and private sectors. The group is characterized by the extensive experience of its members and open-minded, forward thinking. So now we can click members. I already have it over here. So let's just take a peek at the leadership. If you guys want to read the bios, go ahead and see how deep you can really dig and connect it all. But as we see, Singapore, future fintech hotbed for the world, no question about it. You can see JP Morgan Chase, former chairman. We can see former president, ECB. We even have Christine Lagarde, IMF, ECB, speaking highly of Ripple in the past. Augustin Carstens, again, I almost said Carson's, apologies. So BIS, Bank of International Settlements, also the former governor of the Bank of Mexico. We have our buddy Mark Carney, again, spoken highly of Ripple in the past as well. Not, let alone also being a customer of Ripple and trialing Interledger Protocol. And that's, from him, Brad Garlinghouse, Miguel Valles. Many people have said this, just not me on YouTube over here, just so you guys know, and you can find this yourselves. We can talk about, let's see, Bank of New York, should be no surprise. We can tie it to Matthew Mellon, Brazil, no surprise. Obviously a huge, opportunity for unbanked populations throughout Africa. Credit Suisse as well. We can see Swiss Re America right there. Former U.S. Treasury Secretary. We can talk about Mnuchin's ties with, again, Ripple advisor Craig Phillips right here as well. I mean, it's just never ending. Harvard, no surprise. We can see vice chairman of BlackRock, again, one of the biggest custodians in the world. Well, guess what? Who's lead of blockchain at BlackRock? Former Ripple employee Robbie Mitchnick, who also wrote that valuation framework with Susan Athey. Not a coincidence. We can see even here, Gail Kelly, UBS Group, again, another RippleNet partner. They are talking about the utility settlement token. There's going to be permission blockchains. I know you guys recognize Dr. Rajan's face here, former governor, Reserve Bank of India, spoken at Swell as well. We can see again from BIS. It's just never ending. Sorry if I'm kind of going through this quickly, guys, but I just urge you to look through this. IMF right there. You can see, again, we already went through him, Monetary Authority of Singapore. You can see Credit Suisse, excuse me. It's just never ending. Okay. And we'll also talk about, I believe it's OMFIF, OMFIF. I'll have to double check. There's just too much information. Yep, Stanford University, just like Chris Larsen. And I know that's kind of reaching, but just wanted to show that. Governor, People's Bank of China. Remember, Ripple met with the Central Bank of China as well. People's Bank of China is also experimenting with DLT, releasing their digital currency electronic payment as well. Kind of doing that soft rollout as well, slowly pushing people more cashless. You can see Federal Reserve Bank of New York. We have, Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis and Boston, specifically mentioning XRP in many documents. Former chairman of UBS. Just never ending, guys. Let's see. Banca d'Italia, remember Spunta going live. Hopefully, former president of ECB. Just think of, TIPS, Task Group, just all of these systems, guys. Bank of Japan, essentially, SBI. Japan is just going to be a behemoth and probably one of the catalysts in Asia to really kickstart things and hopefully light a fire under the United States to really get things going. Just all right in front of you guys. So obviously do your own research, see if any of these ties are legitimate. And yes, I understand that this is typical of, high-tiered, high-caliber individuals to be a part of this, but specifically mentioning, XRP, I didn't really see them name many other cryptos in the document. What's also interesting, I believe, we talked about Kuwait, is, stay with me here, Federal Reserve. There was a Bank of France. I want to talk about the central bank. Remember, okay, BlackRock again. No surprise, JP Morgan. Look at this, comptroller of the currency of US. It's just, spelling, digitalization, DLT adoption, monetary policy. It's all right in front of you. And right here, Bank of France, former president of the ECB as well, former governor of Bank of France. They specifically said, hypothetically, I'm not saying it's going to happen, they said that they could potentially, and explore the idea, build a central bank digital currency on Ripple or Ethereum. Period. Pretty crazy. Again, Barclays, RippleNet customer. All right in front of you guys. All right. Let me see what else. Oh yeah, no, I was just looking at Chris Larsen. Doesn't have his picture up on Wikipedia. Ignore that I'm sourcing them, by the way. But I know you guys already know this information. So, all right, guys, hopefully that was not too long of a rant. Essentially just going through, G30, talking about, obviously the importance of spreads and basically Nostra consolidation and the benefits of XRP. I just don't see another player coming out of nowhere or all the countries in the world agreeing on a single hegemonic currency to utilize. I think that they're going to go with something that hundreds of banks have trialed, successfully closed 55 million plus ledgers without a single error ever. To me, it's, relatively clear, in tandem with Interledger Protocol being gifted to the group that governs the entire internet. You guys do your own research. I'm making these videos to put this information out, and when and if I'm right, just remember that a lot of us crazy people saw what a lot of people didn't, and were willing to do the research and kind of invest into these emerging technologies when everyone else said otherwise. So I appreciate it, guys. Big shout out and thank you to my top channel members: BMore1113, Lunar Phoenix, Jamie XRP, Crypto Beginner, Ken Melendez, XRP Holder 4, and XRP Life. Take care, everybody.